Welcome to the Navigator podcast. Welcome to the Navigate Academy Module 42 podcast on financial structure management reporting. With me today is Brad Dempsey, founder of Solutions 360 and primary architect of the Q360 ERP platform. Q360 is a comprehensive system designed for systems integrators and similar labor-based companies with some of the most exhaustive financial and management reporting capabilities in the market. Brad also has over 30 years of international project and financial management experience working with hundreds of systems integrators around the globe, from $5 million to over $500 million. Brad, and I'll call you Bradford here, thanks for participating in this podcast supporting the topic of financial structure and management reporting.
Thanks, Brad. It's my pleasure.
Thanks. So you recently facilitated a session with Joel Harris at InfoComm 23 as part of NSCA's Biz Skills program entitled Managing Cash and Targeting Profitable Projects. To me, that session falls under the umbrella of our current module. So please tell me about it in a broad brush and share why it's so important for companies to really understand this, I'll say, financial acumen.
Sure. So the broad brush is really, it's an overview of finance from the perspective of an integration company. And, rather than focusing on pure accounting and GAAP reporting, what we really wanted to talk about was how financial reporting can serve your business management needs.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to accomplish two things. Number one, understand the difference between financial reporting and managerial reporting and how the processes in your company can drive your managerial reporting. And also understand the relationship of project accounting, which is very critical, of course, to the integration companies to financial accounting.
And then based on that, you work with, again, lots of Q360 clients and others, again, for NSCA Biz Skills. There weren't that many that actually owned the tool yet. What's the range of maturity that you often see and some of the risks and opportunities of those who are less mature?
Well, it's a very
broad, a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a pretty broad category. I mean, we're talking about smaller companies who really deal on a cash basis. They measure the success of their company by what goes in and out of their bank account, all the way up to audited companies and some who are even ISO certified. And one of the reasons I mention ISO is I find that generally a company that has strong documented processes like an ISO company is generally a very strong financial reporting company as well. And I'd like to say, and I'm going to give a shout out here to some of those more mature customers. They've really helped mentor us over the years, and we have learned a tremendous amount from those mature customers.
Absolutely. I think that as we're now under the umbrella of Solutions 360, we really do listen to our customers and trying to incorporate that and then learn from them also. So to me, it's a nice journey. Joel talked about the triad of statements during our associated webinar, the balance sheet, the income statement, the cash flow statement. Which ones do you see companies struggle with, and why do you see them struggle?
Well, I'll start by saying I think the income statement is the one that's looked at the most, and it's probably the one that people have the most understanding of, although there was a lot of great content in the webinar about understanding in more depth how the income statement works and maybe some different ways that your company might even be able to structure your income statement. The cash flow statement, I think, is mostly used by the accounting department, so it's not something that generally the management team is necessarily looking at. I think that the one that really gets overlooked is the balance sheet, and in particular, it's a comparative balance sheet. It's how does the balance sheet change over time? There's a lot to be learned from. Well, my AR is increasing over time, or my AP is increasing. What about my liabilities? Are those, and which liabilities, are they going up or down? And understanding, on your balance sheet, one of the permutations that we have in our system of the comparative balance sheet is the source and use of cash report. And, is a growing AR a source of cash or a use of cash, et cetera? So I think that's an area where a lot of companies can improve their understanding.
Well, I think just as you were talking, it's not a static conversation. It's, again, comparing and then seeing trends and actually learning how to manage those trends in a proactive fashion. What are some remedies that companies could take in just, I'll say, elevating their game?
Well, obviously, why are we here? Number one is education. Just having a team with, and I try and get this across to companies that having a team with strong financial acumen is a competitive advantage and it's a strategic advantage for your company.
Absolutely.
It just makes the company operate better. and teaching your company how that triad of reports all fits together, because when one moves, the other two move. So it's understanding how all of those pieces work together. And then finally, I think it's really important that from a management perspective, when you have your management meetings, that everybody has access and is aware of these reports, that they go into those meetings having looked at them, they have their questions ready, and using those as a foundation of, at least monthly having a more financially oriented meeting for your management team.
Right. And again, we talked about with Joel varying levels of detail. So I don't have to be down in the weeds, but having those 5, 6, 8 people around the table understand the vocabulary. And I'll also say just understanding the levers that they can use to move those numbers. That to me is called management.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's understanding, what do I do and how does it affect these numbers? And if the numbers aren't correct, what can I do to help fix them? That's extremely important. Yeah.
Yep. And then again, leaning forward versus looking in the rearview mirror.
Right. Right.
So we referenced the financial intelligence as our finance book of the month. Do you have another you would recommend? And then what did you learn from it?
It's interesting you mentioned that. I haven't seen a lot of books as good as that book, and I really enjoyed the book. I think it's indispensable.
Well, and that works for me.
but I do have another recommendation,
Okay.
and that is actually an organization. It's called CFMA.org, the Construction Financial Management Association. They not only have an actual certification you can get in construction finance, but they've got an incredible library. They've got online courses, they've got live courses, they've got local chapters in most of North America. And I think it's an excellent organization for that kind of financial management that pertains to integrators, which are essentially, construction companies at their heart.
Right. I've taken several of their online courses, and they're very good. Again, it's just that primer of understanding the vocabulary and being able to maneuver in that. I find that some companies, I'll say, don't address it because everybody at the table is like unsure. And to me, it's one of those, address it and take the journey together versus be embarrassed about it.
Yeah, every company at its heart is a financial institution of some type. I mean, that's why we exist. That's how companies survive. And, understanding that that's a DNA of the company means that especially the people making the decisions need to be properly educated and understand that.
Well, great. Well, thank you for educating me. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you as always. It's always been a pleasure. Take care.
Thanks.